The Bad Batch is born. Ahsoka Tano makes some new friends. The Siege of Mandalore leads to an epic showdown and more as the Sky Guys are here to recap the final season of the Clone Wars.
All right, we are back here on the podcast. Hope you had a good 4th of July weekend, and we are celebrating in style here. We finished the Clone Wars Season 7, the final season, which debuted on Disney Plus last year, 2020. With me, as always, first up, the hunter of the Bad Batch squad here, Pete Consadori. Pete, how are you?
I think you're giving me too much credit. I don't know if I deserve the hunter title here, but I'm good. Full from a nice barbecue on July 4th. Again, like you said, I hope everyone enjoyed it. And we're talking season 7. I mean, there's a lot to get to, and there's also not a lot to get to, in my opinion. But we'll talk. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. I'd say you're hunter, I'm tech. I feel like, Nick, you're the wrecker of the group. Does that sound right?
Sure. He's fun. But but good to be on as always. And when you told us back in, I don't know what it was, around Christmas time, that we were going to go through the whole show, this is what I was most excited for, to this exact episode. So I'm pumped.
And I got to say, guys, congratulations. We did it. We have gotten through 133 episodes and one very bad movie of Clone Wars. So we made it. We went through the entire thing, Nick. Did you think it was actually going to happen?
Oh, yeah. Once we said we were going to do it, I knew we were going to do it. But, 133 episodes, as good as the show was, it was also as bad. Maybe 60 of those episodes were terrible, but 73 of them were great.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Let's get into season 7 a little bit and some general thoughts on it, because obviously this came out last year on Disney Plus, started before the pandemic, then was finishing up as the pandemic was really getting going here. Weekly episode drops. We get the 3 big arcs here. And Pete, what do you think of the choices that were made here for the arcs that we got picked?
I don't think they're terrible. I think the consensus will be that the first arc and the third arc were really good, and the second arc was like whatever. Don't have many problems with the second arc as much as I thought I might. But I'm totally okay with this 3 arc season. I think they beautifully ended it as well. And we were talking off air here when I first finished the season, and we're talking about ideas that could have come of it, and we'll probably get to that a little bit. But yeah, no, season 7, the arcs that were in there, I have no problem with them. I think they did it well.
Yeah, Nick, what about you? What do you think about the arcs that were chosen here? Because I mean, Bad Batch makes sense. They're playing the spinoff, so of course they give you that one. We have an Ahsoka arc in the middle, then we had the epic finale arc. What do you think about what we got here?
Yeah, I don't complain with it. I mean, we went over some of the ones last time, what they could have had in, and sure, there could have been 1 or 2 that would have made this season a little bit better, but the arcs they picked were completely fine. They, as you mentioned, they introduced us to the Bad Batch. Then they spent 4 episodes with Ahsoka seeing what she's up to, kind of thing. And it did lead pretty nicely into the finale, like that last episode of her, I guess you want to call it the sister arc. That, the last episode on that one did tie in nicely to the finale arc, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think I understand the logic here, and we'll get to it more when we get to that second arc. But I think it would have been nice to have a 4th one. Sure, like you want to give us maybe we want an Anakin having one last adventure, maybe have that Utapau one, maybe have Yoda and the Bad Batch and the Kashyyyk one a little bit. Sure, but I think we got some good stuff here. I don't think they wanted to push their luck here. We're doing 16 for the final season, so I think 12 ended up being fine.
Agreed.
Yeah. Let's start with the Bad Batch arc. And Pete, we have now been watching, you and I did that backwards here. We started watching the Bad Batch's show first. What do you think of their origin here, seeing their debuts?
Yeah, I think it was fantastic. I think Crosshair has got to be the biggest badass of the bunch. I have to say, and I'm sorry if you have to bleep that out, but it really hurts now to see that he's the one that is not with them currently through the Bad Batch series. As of now, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We have another, 12, 13 episodes of the Bad Batch. I think they're 20 episode seasons they had announced prior. He just, what a phenomenal character. And you can kind of tell too, that he would be the one to go, full on inhibitor chip was working kind of thing. But I do like the whole arc of finding Echo. I think that's huge. And that was a question I had watching the Bad Batch that I didn't understand because we hadn't watched season 7. So I think the origins were great. I obviously think Bad Batch, the show, is a lot better animated and everything because we're a little later on in the years. But I really love the arc.
Yeah, Nick, one thing I was confused about at the time is obviously I was there with Pete. I'm like, wait, how does Echo fit in here? I know he's not like super enhanced like the rest of them, but what in the real time surprising to see like this is a character that was just sort of randomly in season 3 in the Citadel one where we were dunking on Tarkin and we forgot about that arc. And all of a sudden he's here and he's now rescued and he's the key to stopping this big separatist plot on Axis. What do you think about that?
I like it. And I like that they use him just in general, just a clone that we're familiar with. It makes the show that much more relatable. Because, we've mentioned countless times on this segment that the whole point of this show is to get us familiar with the clones. And if you just throw us a group of clones like Bad Batch without any, personal ties to them, we're going to not really care that much. So having Echo is crucial. If someone like Echo could have been Rex, but they're saving Rex for other things. Could have been anyone, but having someone like that is crucial. And I'm happy it was Echo.
Yeah, I liked having this arc specifically because besides the point of the Bad Batch having like a badass introduction where they basically save the day, they run through legions of droids on the issues here. I thought it was nice to give Rex a spotlight here because especially he's a character who we've seen him pop up in Bad Batch and I'm sure they have plans for him at the time, but it's nice to see him sort of get that spotlight as opposed to like we've gotten plenty of Anakin stories over the years, got plenty of Obi-Wan over the years. Rex doesn't get a ton of spotlights. It's nice to have him sort of be one of the co-leads of this arc along with the Bad Batch, Pete.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, Nick has brought this point up a bunch of times in this podcast. We finally see the humanism in the clones. We don't really get that in the movies, right? And to Nick's point, this has been a show that definitely gives us a lot more information about the clones than we ever had. So I like that they're giving Rex more and more responsibility in a way. In the fact that he's a main character. I do consider him a main character in this show. In the beginning, not as many appearances as you want to say, but he's been growing and growing and growing throughout. And like you said, an appearance in the Bad Batch. So we know Rex is going to be here for a long time in all of these different sagas that are going to come out. Again, speculation about the live action series that are coming out. Will he show up there? But we know he's showing up in Bad Batch. And I actually like that. Like you said, we've broken up these seasons to have different story arcs about different characters. Droid arcs aside, it's very interesting to see the character development of all these little, I don't want to say not important characters because they are, but when you watch the movies, they're not considered important characters.
Yeah, as far as Rex appearing in the future, Nick, I mean, if we're going to bring in live action, I mean, Tamar Morrison's still around. He's still doing Boba Fett. I'm sure they can tell him, hey, just throw on some clone armor and be Rex for a couple of scenes.
I can't spoil anything, but we haven't seen the last of Rex.
I would not be surprised.
And I don't mean live action. I just mean in general, we haven't seen the last of him, and his character goes a long way from here.
Yeah, I also think in terms of, I think he's a perfect live action candidate just because, like, again,
you're right. Yeah.
The actor's still employed. He's still being used by Disney. So they could say, hey, like, here's another contract, be Rex for some episodes of Ahsoka's show or something like that.
Right.
Definitely. I don't want to spoil anything. So in the next couple of segments, when we get into the other show, we'll talk.
Yeah, we'll get to the other show. I mean, well, speaking of the Bad Batch right now, since we're talking about them, let's just catch up on what's going on with them right now in their show. And we last talked when Rex showed up and removed the inhibitor chips. Episodes 8 and 9 have aired as of recording on July 1st. The next episode's dropping tomorrow. I think we're at a nice stopping point from the mid-season here. And I know Nick was excited. Episode 8, we get Cad Bane back for the first time since season 4 of Clone Wars. And as you have said, he's a guy who was nowhere in the last chat. He doesn't pop up in anything else. Nice to get him back in the mix, Nick.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder. Now, obviously, I was so excited to see it. I thought they brought it. He was really cool entrance. It was the way he came in was awesome. It was the shock, and it opens the door for me, or at least the possibility that we might see other characters too in this show. Why can't we see Bo-Katan? Why can't we see Ventress? We could. They're all alive. We've never seen them die. These characters could be in the show. I mean, I don't want to go so far, but it's possible we even get Darth Vader in the Bad Batch. I don't think so. I know James Earl Jones is struggling. He's not the same, but even, we'll get to it a little bit later, but he's in the Clone Wars and he didn't have to talk to make his presence felt.
Yeah, and Pete, I liked what we did here where we tie up some of the Omega stuff, where we find out the bounty hunter solution here. We find out that 2 separate sets of Kaminoans to put bounties out on Omega, where turns out that Fennec Shan has been hired by, I think, the one who was close to Omega to protect her from the Kaminoans, where Cad Bane was hired by the rest of them to say, hey, bring her back. She's our property. And it turns out that she is basically, as we learned, I'm going to throw the spoiler warning up here for Bad Batch, because if you have not seen through episode 9, this is a big spoiler. Yeah, we find out that thankfully she is not a clone of a Jedi. She basically is the female equivalent of a direct clone from Jango Fett. So she is Boba Fett's sister. And it's a big piece of information we learned.
Yeah, I mean, you have been warned. Very big piece of information. It makes me feel like we will see Boba Fett in the future. I don't know how soon. I want to predict that maybe he will get into the middle of the whole Cad Bane and Fennec thing. I just feel like, why else would a bounty hunter be involved if they weren't also with other bounty hunters? That's just my take on it. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. However, huge information that really confused me at first, because we see Fennec, we see Cad Bane. We obviously know Cad Bane is a type of guy who is no nonsense. I'm doing it for the purse that's going to bring me. I want my credits. I don't care who I'm bringing this person to. I don't care what they do with this person. I just want my money and go. Fennec, as we saw in The Mandalorian, is a little bit of, she's a bounty hunter, but she also kind of has that heart and loyalty to her. So it was a little confusing to see both of them going at her. But then once that Kaminoan came up and was like, hey, it's okay if she's with, the clone, the Squad 99, as long as she's safe, you don't have to worry about it. And Fennec's like, okay, if you ever need me, you know where to find me.
Yeah, it makes a good point. And Nick, I think you brought up something interesting before and off air a little bit in terms of like, this is sort of a space where, as you said many times, we don't have a lot of established continuity in the Star Wars universe, where that period from like the end of the Clone Wars, beginning of the Empire, to about Rebels is about 5 years before Star Wars,
roughly.
Yeah, it's like that whole period is basically unwritten canvas for them to use. And this is a spot where you said not only do we get some characters back, maybe some stories we didn't see in Clone Wars and get repurposed here and brought up. Maybe some of those arcs, like the ones that you could fly close enough. I'm most thinking of the Cad Bane Boba Fett thing. I think it could be something that pops up here.
Definitely agree. And I want to take this opportunity to mention something is I never really realized this and until the last year or two. And I think it wasn't really relevant until about a year or two ago. It's that Boba Fett is literally the coolest character in all of media.
Yeah.
This guy, all he was a cool costume in 1980. And it turned into an entire race of people, an entire planet, 2 TV shows completely centered around it, spin-offs, a spin-off show based on it, Mandalorian, a spin-off show of The Mandalorian, another spin-off, The Book of Boba Fett, just because he had cool armor in 1980. Now you have his sister coming up as the main plot point in a 3rd show. It's unbelievable. Just because his armor was cool in 1980, he's made basically 4 TV shows. You can say that there's obviously a lot going on in the Clone Wars, but one of the main themes of the Clone Wars was Mandalore.
Yes.
The same thing happens in Rebels. We have the Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, now the Bad Batch. The whole entire Grand Army of the Republic was based upon Boba Fett's dad. None of that would have happened if he wasn't cool armor.
That is pretty crazy to think about. And as far as Bad Batch goes, Pete, to mention earlier, they have a 16-episode season. We're about halfway through. I feel like we are at a point where this is sort of the midpoint of the story. I feel like we're going back to a couple episodes of them just doing jobs for Sid and running into
droid arcs.
I think we're going back to that area again, where I think the next 3-4 episodes is going to be them doing jobs for Sid and running into people. I don't think we're going to have anything major, but I do want.
It's time for a droid arc.
Yep. Speaking of random characters popping up, before we go back into Clone Wars, let's do a quick little draft. We should pick 2 characters who we think will appear in Bad Batch soon. It could be this season, it could be going forward. We're going to take Boba Fett off the table. I think we're all in agreement he's going to show up.
Can I stop you for a second and ask, is this 2 people that I want to be in the show or 2 people that I actually think will be in?
Two people we actually think will be in it.
Okay.
All right. So Pete, as Hunter here of the Bad Batch, you can go first. Who's your first person you think will show up?
The first person I think that will show up is Ahsoka Tano. And the reason why I say that, I'm not saying chronologically she's the first person to come up, but I think that's who Rex is talking to when he's calling back to whoever he's talking to in that one scene when he leaves the Bad Batch. We see, especially in this season, which we'll talk about in a bit, season 7 of the Clone Wars, Ahsoka Tano and Rex are pretty close. And I'm sure Nick could to attest to that. Maybe that's also something that has to do with the Rebels in the future. However, I think Ahsoka Tano is going to be one of those characters that does come through. I was going to say Boba Fett for my second person. I really don't know who else they can kind of get. I would say probably, because I don't know if Mandalore is going to be something involved in this season, maybe next season, maybe Bo-Katan, maybe something like that. Maybe Maul. Could I throw that out there? I'm assuming Maul's still alive in this part of the time. So maybe Maul, maybe Ventress. I mean, there's a ton, and Nick had mentioned Ventress and Bo-Katan, so thank you for those suggestions. But Ahsoka Tano and Maul. That's what I'm going with.
All right, Nick, who are your two?
My first is the investigate. No, I'm kidding. I actually really hate to say this, but I completely agree. I have nothing to add to what Pete said. And Ahsoka and any one of those other characters, I really don't see any other way they can go. You know, actually, I have one other one that they might throw in there, and that's Bail Organa. I think he could find a way to sneak in just because of the time period.
Yeah, Bail Organa is one that you could, I think for that reason, I think you're going to get C-3PO or R2-D2 showing up. I think one of those two will be there. I'm convinced of that because
my money would be on 3PO if any of them, or both. They'd probably be together.
So if Bail is there, he's going to have them at that point. So like they could just be on the ship and just waking up and be like, hey, we're here. Yeah,
it would be a nice little fan service moment.
Yeah, I think it would be too. And I will throw a deeper cut out there for the rogue for the Solo fans. Like, what about Beckett, like the bounty hunter who killed Aura Singh?
That's a very good possibility. Good guess there, because Solo takes place 9 years after Revenge of the Sith. How far after Revenge of the Sith do you think we are in Bad Batch? A few months?
Maybe like months.
Yeah, so you're looking at about a 9-year difference from where we are right now.
I would argue that Bad Batch is I mean, right?
Like 4 or 5 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, the first episode is them getting.
Yeah, it's probably like a week. I would say it's like a month after in total.
Yeah, I would say a month max.
So you're looking at a 9-year gap between this show and Tobias is pretty established in that movie. So I definitely agree with you.
That's one we haven't seen, as far as I'm aware of, other places. So like he could pop up and maybe you show him killing Aura Singh on the screen, and then we get that answer resolved in canon.
My thought, I could be wrong. My thought, and I could be out there, it could be actual like canon, is that he killed her pretty close to that movie.
You know,
we don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe that is confirmed. I don't know.
They're flowing around that bounty hunter realm right now, the Bad Batch a lot. So I'd be surprised a lot of those characters start showing up. I think that's where you're looking more for your cameos.
Actually, yeah, I just looked. It is not confirmed when she died. So yeah, you could definitely see her, and you could definitely see him and his wife too. She was in Solo too, and she had died on the train. Like,
yeah,
they could be together.
Get Tanya Newton in here for some voiceover work.
And that was Jon Favreau, the guy in the I don't know what you call him, suit.
Yeah,
the pilot guy from Solo.
Yeah, I think we're a little early for like the Landos and the Hans of the world, but like I think you're gonna get like Tobias Beckett. That's my out there pick.
I like it.
All right, let's move on here to the Ahsoka arc, which I think was one we outlined last time, and the Ahsoka's walkabout arc. And look, I get the motivation. You have not seen Ahsoka on the show since she leaves the Jedi Order in season 5, apart from one vision that Yoda has, which isn't really her. You need to check in with her because it's weird story-wise to have her just not be there. And all of a sudden she shows up in the last arc, say, I have a lead on Darth Maul. Here we go. And I think you had to check in on her, but the way they did this, like Pete, the Nick thing, what do you think went wrong with this arc?
I don't know if I want to say something went wrong. I want to say that they were just trying to find an interesting story to lead up to that last arc. I'm not saying it was the best executed, but I'm not saying it was the worst. Like, I'd rather watch that arc than a droid arc any day. And Ahsoka flying out of the sky on a broken speeder bike or whatever, in motorbike, however you want to call it, and winding up with Trace and Rafa, it kind of shows Ahsoka's maturity and also her, what's the word I'm looking for? Willingness to help even a stranger, right? That was the Jedi way. That was the morals that she learned as she grew up, and she wanted to help, genuinely help. And you actually kind of see through this arc the resentment sometimes of the Jedi from people on Coruscant that didn't exactly agree with the Jedi. And that was, I don't want to say refreshing, because I mean, you never want to see like the good guys have something bad said about them, but everyone has their opinion. Everything's relative. So to see all that transpire and then to introduce Bo-Katan back in and get them into that last arc, I actually don't mind the second arc at all. Again, I'd much rather watch that than a droid arc or a Zero the Hutt arc any day.
Yeah, certainly fair. And Nick, I know you were not a big fan of the Martez sisters. So in your opinion, like, what happened there? Like, where did they go wrong?
They're just boring. Yeah. And they're boring characters. I agree with the motivation behind the arc and the way this arc ends. Like the 8th episode of the season was actually pretty good, but it was just boring. Like that first episode was just like, oh my God, this is painful. But to be fair, the last time we saw Ahsoka was March of 2013. It's been 7 years since anyone saw Ahsoka on screen. And I agree, they needed to bring her back in some capacity, show what she's been up to, show what life is like in the, I guess you call it the lower levels of Coruscant. Show what it's like. And then another thing you notice is how not everyone has this bright opinion of the Jedi. You kind of see that, how people in the lower levels of Coruscant are like, well, the Jedi started this war, all they do is fight, this and that. They don't view the Jedi as heroes. And that's interesting to see because as the viewer, we're led to believe they're heroes.
Yeah, Pete, Trace and Rafa would approve of our ranking of the Jedi Council down near the bottom right LPT list.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little worried about that today. We'll get to that a little bit later, but I'm getting a little bit worried about those rankings.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to those rankings in a minute. I think for me, the thing I interesting to consider with this arc is like the stakes are so low. You have this big bad batch, ginormous arc where you're rescuing Echo, you're stopping a separatist mission, and we're spending 4 episodes with Ahsoka watching 2 bumbling sisters can't get out of their own way, botch a spice deal. Like that seems like very, very low stakes for what we have gotten. I mean, it's not Meebar Gascon wandering around with droids for 4 episodes, but like it's not great.
This takes place before the Bad Batch arc, if you didn't know. Oh. And that makes sense to me as this takes place first. And that doesn't really make sense to me, to be honest with you. It makes sense to me at the beginning, but like once you get to the end, it seems like once she found out about Maul, she went right to it. And,
yep.
But let's say it does, because that is what it says online. So I'm assuming that, StarWars.com wouldn't lie, but
it could. I guess you could say maybe they went and did some planning before they went and got Anakin over.
Right, but I just don't think. I guess the reason they did it this way is this wouldn't work as an opening. If the opening episode was her meeting people, I feel like people are going to be like, oh, I'm not watching this season.
Yeah. Especially it's one at a time. You have to wait a month to get the Bad Batch part then.
Yeah. These episodes all came out weekly, except the last episode was only 3 days after episode 11 because it came out on May the 4th.
Yeah. Yeah. And Pete, I want to throw this out there to you. The Martez sisters are probably the worst part of this arc because their character is not well designed. The original variation of this arc had not them in it, but a character who is not invented named Nick Sokami, who is a quasi love interest for Ahsoka. Like, do you think if he is there, does that make this any better?
I think it makes it worse.
Yeah.
I don't think the only love interest, in my opinion, that worked for Star Wars was Anakin and Padme. Yes, there was that tension between Obi-Wan and Satine, and you kind of knew that was a thing. love interests in Star Wars to me don't. Oh, and excuse me, the whole Han and Leia thing. But love interests in Star Wars to me don't work on every single level. I don't think Ahsoka Tano having a love interest past what she did in Clone Wars. If you bring her back after 7 years and you put her in this 4-episode story arc with a love interest, I don't want to say it's as bad as Jar Jar having a love interest, but it's like we didn't come to watch Ahsoka Tano fall for someone. We came to watch Ahsoka Tano like mess stuff up, right?
Yeah.
She is, arguably the, next to Anakin, one of the more powerful Jedi, just from watching this, or non-Jedi now. She's not really part of the Jedi, but watching the show, she's a very strong character. So I think to kind of go a love interest route would almost be like kind of like a cop out.
Yeah, I think what they were that original blueprint trying to go for is maybe sort of go for like, oh, this is sort of like a Han Solo-ish kind of guy that she's running with, and like maybe it's a little charm for that guy. I mean, I think that's the idea, but I think I agree with Pete. I don't think it works.
What was his character's name? Did you say Nick?
Nick's Okama.
So not Nick.
Not Nick.
I got excited that there was a Star Wars character named Nick. Well then, no, it wouldn't work. If his name was Nick, it would work.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
It would work. No, but I agree with Pete. The love thing in Star Wars doesn't really work. It worked with Han and Leia, or Anakin and Padme, and I mean, I'm not even going to talk about what they did with Rey and Kylo. Was that supposed to be love? I don't know. and Rose and Finn, I don't know. He was gonna save the day, and then she was like, "Nope, you're not gonna save the day." But we'll get to that next time, I guess.
Yeah, next time. Let's get to this final arc here, which is the one we're all waiting for. And when Nick is saying this again, this is the one you have to get to the show for. It's the final arc, the Siege of Mandalore. And I just say, I love the comic again. You can tell that stuff is really getting real because they only have the narrative of one episode. The rest is just boom, like the title card, no like words of wisdom, no anything. Just you're in the story. Here we go. And one thing I love is they did a lot of tie-ins to things from episode 3, like where they explained a lot of things that fit nicely, like why all the Jedi were all so spread out made them easily killable because Count Dooku and Geonosis and Grievous were attacking all the Outer Rim, so they had to get all these Jedi out in the battlefield to stop these charges. You find out why Anakin and Obi-Wan are not there when the Chancellor gets kidnapped. So stuff like that, like they tried to figure that out and give you lots of explanations for these things.
Who's going for this one, me or Nick?
Go ahead, Pete. Go ahead.
Yeah. So no, I agree. I think, I don't know how you guys feel. This has turned into episode 3.5 for me. And the reason why I say that is because when I go to rewatch the movies before we do this, I will be watching episodes 1, 2, 3, this 4-episode arc, then going on to Rogue One and all of that, because I feel like it works so nicely. This arc was written so beautifully. I have to say it was the best arc of the entire series. I will have to go out and say that, and I'm sure you guys will agree with me. I have to say the best part of the arc is that it didn't take 4 episodes for Mr. Maul to be captured.
Yes.
That's what I was worried about. I was worried that part 4 would have been Maul was captured, and that's the end of the arc. But they get on it right away. And they actually have Maul try to manipulate Ahsoka to say, hey, join me. Do this. We can defeat Darth Sidious together. And all these different things. And I think that's what made this arc even more powerful. We did not get the stereotypical, okay, the final boss is Maul. You're going to defeat him in the last episode.
Yeah, Nick, what did you think about some of these tie-ins to episode 3? And I think they, as Pete said, they weave in so beautifully, and it does feel like it's running side by side with the actual movie.
Yeah, it was awesome. You have like meetings that are in episode 3. I don't know if you pick up on I don't know if you could pick up on it, like when they're doing those meetings around the table with the holograms.
Yeah.
Like Mace Windu and Yoda, they're literally saying the exact same lines as episode 3. It's like it's literally happening there. Like they're having that meeting. Oh God, I don't remember what it was. In one of the last episodes, and I forgot what they were talking about, but it was the one they said they're talking about how the Chancellor should be removed from office if he doesn't give his emergency powers. That was literally in the movie. The scene ends in the movie. Ahsoka walks in, and there's actually many things on YouTube you can find if you type in like Revenge of the Sith, Clone Wars edit, you'll find people who like edited these scenes to go and play like either at the same time on a split screen or like right after one another, like chronologically, so you could see all the tie-ins and episode 3 happening in like a 20-minute video or something. It's really cool.
Yeah, one of those I want to get to real quick. I thought it was pretty cool. Was like there's a conversation between Obi-Wan and Ahsoka when she's on Mandalore and he's about to go look for Grievous, and she basically finds out about Dooku being killed by Anakin, and it's nice to hear him say, like, we're pissed. Like, we could have had the answer of who Sidious is, and we don't know because Anakin killed him. So I thought that was nice to give that answer, because it seemed like the Jedi did not seem to react enough in the movie. The fact that Anakin basically cost them their biggest lead, the Sith Lord.
Yeah. I feel like they should have known anyway, but that's just me.
Yeah, let's get to the actual siege of Mandalore itself. And Pete, the battle we get over the first two episodes of this arc was just incredibly done visually.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything in this season was done beautifully visually. I mean, I think the only way it could have been better is that we had bad batch animations for this whole last arc, right? Everything looked motion captured. Nothing looked too cartoony. Nick had spoke about that throughout the season, saying like, as we get older and older in the seasons and we keep going farther and farther, it's going to get better and better. And I have to say, the lightsaber battles, the just even the way that the clone troopers and the Mandalorians and all of Maul's, I can't remember if Maul had like a name for his army, but just everything looked real. It just looked animated. I think they did a beautiful job, and I have to say it's a complete battle. Like, I don't think anything was really missing from it. I wasn't, obviously you want more, but it wasn't like I was left wanting more.
Yeah, Nick, what you about this battle, the whole siege of Mandalore? And I like that we had
awesome
the Bo-Katan component with her faction of the Mandalorians. We had the 500 at first. I love the great touch there of having like the troopers all paint their armor like Ahsoka's like facial stylings. I liked all that stuff. I thought it was a pretty cool like representation of everything.
Yeah, it was awesome. And that Maul Ahsoka lightsaber fight, I'm sure you're able to tell on your first time watching, but if you watch it again, you could tell it's 100% real motion captured. That is zero computer, animated. I don't know. Obviously, it's animated. I don't know what I'm trying to say. You guys know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
it wasn't created by a computer, even though it was. It was motion captured, and those are real people moving around. And that is Ray Park, the guy who played Maul in episode 1 and in Solo. But like, that's awesome. And the battle was so cool. Everything with Maul. Maul had a plan. He drew them in. He wanted Kenobi to come. I like how I'm calling him Obi-Wan. He wanted Obi-Wan to come because he had a whole plan around it. And then he's saying the whole thing with Anakin, like getting Ahsoka, like, wait,
what?
Like, what are you talking about? And then she doesn't bring it up later, which we'll get to. But like, I think it was perfectly done. Pete had mentioned off the air to us that they should make this 4-episode arc into a movie, and it would be amazing.
Yeah,
it would be literally perfect. Even the cartoony parts of this were amazing. Like at the way beginning of the battle, Ahsoka like jumps down from like 50 feet and lands on the platform. The explosion goes behind her. Like, even that was awesome. That like kind of reminds me of like Iron Man.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole scene again where he throws his arms in the air, he's throwing the missiles up in the background, like that kind of reminds you of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of Maul's speech to Ahsoka, I do have the audio pulled of that because I thought it was too important to us to paraphrase. So let's listen into what Maul actually had to say to Ahsoka before their final battle on Mandalore. So let's listen to this.
I will help you. But you must answer one question.
You have but to ask.
What do you want with Anakin Skywalker?
He is the key to everything.
To bring balance to the Force?
To destroy. He has long been groomed for his role as my master's new apprentice.
You lie.
So certain of his fate that I orchestrated this war to kill him, thus depriving
First of all, phenomenal job there by Sam Witwer doing the voice acting of that speech. It was really great. And Pete, like, he really nailed this on the head, which is very impressive.
I mean, Mr. Maul, as we've deemed his new name, he's force sensitive. Obviously, he's the dark side of the force. He knows Anakin Skywalker is gonna be the one that's gonna be the major problem moving forward. And no one sensed this other than him. Like, that to me boggles my mind. Even when Yoda asks Ahsoka, like, hey, anything else you got to tell me about Skywalker? And Ahsoka's like, nah, it's all right. I'll tell him when I see him in person. Like, it boggles my mind that Maul is the only person that is like, yeah, Anakin's going to be a real problem.
Yeah, and Nick, I think it's interesting, too, that, like, Maul comes up with this whole plan. It's like, I'm going to draw Kenobi in because Kenobi knows that I want revenge on him. And basically, his plan to get there is basically tell Obi-Wan, hey, he's the problem. Let's get rid of him. That way Sidious can't use him against us. So what do you think about Maul's overall plan there?
I think if I was wearing a hat, I would tip my hat to Dave Filoni for turning a character who was dead into a, oh my God, why would they bring him back? What? Darth Maul's alive, to one of the most interesting characters in Star Wars. And great plan. And he's right. And he's awesome. And he's a badass. And everything Maul did in this entire arc was awesome. And that speech. Another thing I want to touch on real quick is how good was the music in this arc, really, the whole season. Yep. But I'm in this arc, like, it has that same feel. Remember in episode 3 when they tell Anakin to wait in the Jedi Council?
Yeah.
And he's in there, and Padme's at home, and Anakin's in the council, and Mace Windu and the rest of them are going to arrest the Chancellor. And there's just that really powerful music playing. Then, like, Anakin starts crying, and Padme starts crying. I had the same exact vibe during the Maul speech to Ahsoka. It had that same feeling to it of like something huge is about to happen. And something huge did happen. But that plan, that's why you went to me, was a great plan. And unfortunately for Maul, it didn't work out. And unfortunately for the galaxy, it didn't work out. Because if
a lot of Jedi too.
If Obi-Wan did go, maybe he would have got through to him. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is. Repeat. Let's play a thought experiment out here. Let's say for a second here that Palpatine is not like a step ahead here to having Grievous stage the kidnapping to get Anakin like to come rescue him and kill Dooku. So let's say Obi-Wan and Anakin are the ones who go to Mandalore like the original plan was when Ahsoka and Bo-Katan go there for help. Like, if they're the ones chasing down Maul, they come down here. What do you think actually happens? Do you think Obi-Wan is going to listen to Maul, or you think they just delay the inevitable here?
So I think, and I'm sure you guys agree, Maul's plan is to be Sidious's apprentice again, or even the master of the dark side. I don't think he liked what happened where Darth Sidious messes him up and kills Savage Opress, right? I think he wants his revenge on Obi-Wan, but he also wants to get that much closer to defeating his old master and also becoming the head honcho, right? I think that's what a part of his plan was when he was talking to Ahsoka as well. And Ahsoka's like, I can see right through you. I know exactly what you're doing. You want to use me to get to him, and you'll do the same thing that Sidious is doing. Maybe not at the exact same plan, but you're going to try to do that. I think that's still there. I just think it stops Anakin from becoming Darth Vader. I think it stops Obi-Wan from going into hiding. Like, I think the dark side still prevails if they go to Mandalore and they go toward Maul. Who knows? Maul may kill Obi-Wan and Anakin kills Maul. It's like the whole Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi thing just mixed around. It could go that way, but I think that's really the only thing that changes. I still think Order 66 gets thrown into place. I still think that Maul wins in the end if he doesn't get killed or actually killed. So I don't know how much would change other than you lose the whole Darth Vader thing.
Yeah, Nick, I think the thing that changed here, I think if Maul's plan works and Maul kills Anakin, Maul just becomes like the bigger Sith threat because he cuts Palpatine off the knees. I feel like that's what his real motivation is. It says basically screw Palpatine, not I'm doing this out of no wishes in my heart.
I think if this happens and Anakin and Obi-Wan go to Mandalore, I think you end up with the same galaxy but with some different people. I think Anakin dies. From Order 66. I think Maul dies in a battle with Obi-Wan and Anakin. I think Obi-Wan escapes the same way he did. And you end up just having the exact same Empire and the same original trilogy with no Darth Vader.
Yep.
And then there is no one to kill the Emperor, and Luke goes to fight him alone. Well, Luke wouldn't. Luke exist? Yeah, he would exist. Padme was already pregnant, so he would exist. Obi-Wan would train him. Yoda would train him. He'd go and fight the Emperor, and he'd die.
Yeah,
I think that would be it. There'd be no Anakin. There'd be no Vader. There'd be no redemption, and that'd be the end of the story. Was Anakin failed against the Emperor, and then Luke did too.
Yeah,
that's what happened.
All right, so that's it. We'll never really know what happened if that actually Maul's plan comes to fruition. But let's go to the fact that, as you mentioned earlier, the meeting that we see in episode 3 where the council is meeting about arresting Palpatine if he doesn't get up his powers. And we found again, Ahsoka walks in that meeting, tells them basically tells them, "Oh, I have Maul," blah blah blah, or she's close to getting Maul. And at the end, she chooses not to reveal what Maul told her about Anakin to the council. And I'm going to go to you first, Miss Nick. Why do you think that is? Why do you think she holds that information back?
I think the Jedi Council has made their last mistake. They lost the trust of Ahsoka. She's trying to protect Anakin, and rightfully so. She doesn't trust them after what we've seen. They're a -4 on our LVP list. And they've given us numerous reasons to not trust them, and this is their final mistake because they didn't show any trust in her. She's not showing trust in them. She's protecting Anakin, and maybe if she said something, as we just talked about, these possibilities and how step on a butterfly or whatever they say, kill butterfly, the butterfly effect with this. If she had said something, we'd be looking at a completely different galaxy. But she didn't have their trust, and she was protecting Anakin, and I don't blame her.
Yeah, Pete, anything to add on this?
I think, again, Mace Windu ruins that moment for her. I mean, if during that meeting, Ahsoka asks, well, what's going on? And Mace is like, well, citizen, you can't know because this is Jedi matters or some crap. So, of course, she's going to be like, yeah, I'll just tell him myself. You're just proving me why I left the Jedi Council. I just brought you Maul on a platter without you, right? I brought you Maul with the help of Commander Rex and his unit, where you didn't even want to give me Anakin and Obi-Wan. I gave you Maul. You came and tell me a little bit of information on what's going on. I'm helping you out. I'll talk to Anakin myself. No problem. I would have had the same reaction.
Yeah, I think as this goes to Fee and Mace Windu. I think if Mace Windu is not basically an arrogant dick to her, she tells the information right there and says, "Hey, I'm worried about Anakin. Can you guys check on him?"
She kind of alludes to that though. She's like, "Hey, if you're going after the Chancellor and Anakin are pretty close. You better kind of keep an eye out on him, or make sure he doesn't know."
Yeah.
And then Mace Windu gives her the attitude about "Oh, we can't tell you because you're not part of the Jedi Council anymore, or the Jedi Order anymore." So, of course, I'd be like, "Screw you! I'll tell him myself." I wouldn't tell you anything. I wouldn't be doing you any favors.
Yeah, I think it makes a ton of sense. And I think, obviously, that sets up where we get to the point. I think they do a good job in the arc of showing her sensing through the Force when Anakin falls to the dark side. And we get that basically ends episode 2 of the arc. And episode 3, I thought it was great that it was the Order 66 scene, and we know it's coming. And the beginning, there's almost no dialogue. The music's dead quiet. And Nick, I thought it was fantastic because it's coming, but they don't give you the hint of exactly when it's coming. So you're kind of sitting there in suspense for a few minutes, wondering when the Order 66 bomb drops.
Yeah, when I first watched this last year, I was surprised it came that early. I thought it was going to come in episode 12, not episode 11. But when, as you mentioned, it's that same music. I don't know what you call that in movies or in TV shows. It's that suspenseful music in the background. It's not even music. It's just a noise. It's just a long held note in an opera or something.
But it won't actually end.
Yeah. And it just gets you, I don't want to say scared, but just excited. I don't know the word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Nervous.
Ready. You're ready. Yeah. And you start hearing the archive recordings from that scene, when Anakin, I guess, officially turns, you hear that, and then you're like, oh, that's where we are. Because you're following along in the other 2 episodes on where we are in the movie. You're like, okay, we're at that point in time now where, and now you're like, okay, that happened. So pretty much, if I remember correctly in the movie, as soon as he makes Anakin Vader, as soon as he sends him off on his mission, he executes Order 66, which is pretty much right then and there. So as soon as you hear that, you're like, oh boy. I thought the way it was handled was perfect. Like, you're seeing it from a clone's perspective. Like, you can argue that's Ahsoka's perspective, but I think that's more of Rex's perspective on Order 66 than hers. And it's like, you can see how he like drops the helmet, and he's like, it's very sad to see. To be honest with you, I think with the archive footage and knowing these characters as well as we do, I think it's more sad to watch Order 66 in the Clone Wars than it is to watch it in Episode 3.
Yeah, you have no attachment to those clones. Episode 3.
Yeah, most of the Jedi that they killed in Episode 3, you don't know about either. The only one you do pretty much is Ki-Adi-Mundi. That's about it.
Yeah, and Pete, I think it's also fascinating to see how Ahsoka tries to deal with the situation, because she's attached to a lot of these clones, but she's not trying to kill them. She's trying to basically incapacitate them. And then she has this brilliant idea of, you know what? Maul is here. Let's use him to be the decoy so I can figure out what the hell's going on and basically try and save as many as I can. So what do you think of that brilliant tactical approach?
Well, she's lucky that Maul didn't try to pull anything. That's number one. I mean, he did in the end. He did pull a pretty big, like,
F you.
Even, yeah, I'm leaving. You guys are done because you didn't want to work with me. Okay, fine. I get it. I want to piggyback on what Nick and you said. We actually are emotionally invested in these relationships between the clones and the Jedi Order and the generals that are their Jedi, right? Ahsoka Tano and Rex have probably the strongest bond when it comes to a Jedi and a clone trooper. I would say even more so than Anakin and Rex and Kenobi and Rex, right? To see the way that the Clone Wars did this episode, again, piggybacking on what Nick said, seeing the helmet drop and seeing Rex pretty much shed a tear, like he's being forced to hurt someone he loves, like a daughter or a sister or a friend. It's really heartbreaking. It's like, wow, like they know they're doing something wrong, but they're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
And then it turns into the Ahsoka's gonna try to get Rex to, she finds out what all the things are going on with Fives, because he mentions Fives, because he's still kind of there. He's still not, he's talking about Fives when Ahsoka's fighting back. And so she looks up what Fives went through and what was going on. So she learns about the inhibitor chips. So then she's like, we can probably get Rex back. And then she has the inhibitor chip removed, and we go on our merry way. Right. So I do think this is, like Nick was saying, I have to agree with him. Order 66 is felt a lot harder by the viewer in the Clone Wars than it was in Episode 3, because, I mean, let's be honest, if we didn't watch the Clone Wars and we watched Episode 3 and 2, will we know any of these guys' names?
No.
Maybe one, maybe,
we know Cody.
They say Cody's name once, I think.
Cody's once, maybe Rex's once, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think they did a wonderful job at putting backstory so that you can appreciate the movie so much more.
Yeah, Nick, I thought it was also interesting that Pete brought up also that we get that 5 storyline tied back in, and that we started a lot of season 6. They probably one of the most important arcs in the back half of the show is that one. And nice to see them go to the video file of Rex's report that they had the Jedi seal, because obviously Palpatine probably ordered it, but nice to see them bring it back in. It makes you think for sure that, like, that's one, if they had not finished it, they would have thrown into the season to make sure they had that plot point available to them.
Yeah, that was obviously a crucial thing to show that there was some awareness on that ship, how limited it was. And then we got to see the Maul rampage. He got his hallway scene, and that did not leave anything to be desired. That was awesome. He went down that hallway with no weapon,
with the Force.
Yeah. He used the hallway as his weapon.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing fight scene, because you see him go down, just mow down legions of clones, and literally it's like you said, He doesn't have a lightsaber with him. He doesn't have the dark saber. He doesn't steal the guns and use the force to fire the guns. He just takes the hallway, uses a shield, and just pushes the soldiers with the force and stuff like that. That's incredible.
And another example of excellent music.
Yeah.
That scene is another just awesome vibes with that, with amazing music. And how cool is it when the trooper's the arm got cut off?
Yeah.
And I'm interested. I know we spoke about this before, but I don't know if we have an answer. And I honestly don't remember if we get an answer, but where is that saber? Huh?
It's a good question.
Where is the dark saber?
I thought Bo-Katan was going to have it, and you're going to see some resentment of Ahsoka. Because
we haven't seen the last of this saber in animation, but I don't remember where it is right now.
Right. So, like, I don't know if this is answered in Rebels,
I'm
but
it is.
Yeah,
I think it is. I just don't remember.
Man would have some resentment toward Ahsoka because Ahsoka's the one that really defeated Maul. So technically, she's the true ruler of Mandalore, right? If we're talking about what is canon for the ruling of Mandalore.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, like Maul doesn't use a dark saber in the fight, so it makes you think he doesn't actually have it at that point.
Right, but I'm talking about no, it doesn't. He hasn't used it in the fights for episode. The last episodes of season 7, but he has used it before when he was wielding a single lightsaber, right?
He used it against Palpatine. That's the last time we see it.
Right. So I don't know where it goes from there. You're right. It's a good point. I don't know what happened.
So I just looked it up and I remember. I'm not going to say anything, but it's somewhere. It's still out there.
Yeah.
We'll see it again.
Okay, so that's an interesting question you brought up here, and I want to go to the ending of this arc because obviously it's worth spending a lot of time on. I think the scene at the end, and where we get the epilogue, obviously Ahsoka and Rex end up crashing the cruiser, like they escape on like one ship that seems to be working, and then all of the other clones die. They bury the clones on the snow planet. They leave. Ahsoka drops her lightsaber to basically sell the illusion she died in the attack, and we get the epilogue of Darth Vader showing up wordless, picking up the lightsaber, taking it with him. So, Pete, what do you think of that whole epilogue sequence?
Very powerful. I think it's not so much. I agree with you with her dropping the lightsaber as a figure. If she died in that battle, maybe just to give the illusion she wasn't there. But I think she's just done. Yep. I think after all of that, I think she's like, I'm done. Like, I gave a lot. I've lost so many people that I have built relationships with. I am completely done. I'm going to disappear, which I'm assuming she comes back in Rebels. Like I said, I don't know, but she does come back in The Mandalorian. So with lightsabers. So I don't know where the pieces get connected. However, it just shows how defeated she is, just like a lot of the other Jedi. I mean, Yoda looked defeated in episode 3 as well. It's just like they kind of knew, like, it's over. We're done. I have to hide now because if I don't, I'm going to get killed.
Yeah, and Nick, I also thought the scene where they buried the clones was also fantastic because it really does like signal an end to this show, and like nice to show that like they still show the respect to bury all of them, even though they tried to kill them like the span of 10, like let's say about like a half hour of showtime, and it goes to show you that like, hey, like these were still Rex's brothers, these were still Ahsoka's like loyal soldiers, and she knows that it was not their doing for why they did this. So I thought it was a nice touch, especially we get that lingering shot of Jesse's helmet in the front of that group.
It was a great way, symbolically and literally, to put an end to the clones and the Clone Wars. But two things. One, both times I watched this, I thought this. Am I crazy? When they crash the ship, it's not a snow planet. And then it becomes a snow planet. It didn't follow either time on that.
Maybe Vader showed up in the winter.
Yeah, and second, to me, I don't know if you guys agree. To me, it's very clear Darth Vader does not think Ahsoka is dead. He knows she's alive.
I thought it was interesting because, like, I think he just takes the saber with him because, like, he feels bad about Ahsoka dying. But, like,
yeah, I think of it more as Ahsoka dying in quotes. I think he knows Ahsoka Tano is still out there and alive, but Ahsoka the Jedi is long gone.
Pete, did you get that read?
I didn't think it as Ahsoka was dead. I thought, like I said, she dropped her lightsabers in okay, this is not the world we used to live in. It's not the universe we used to live in, galaxy, whatever. And I'm done. I have to go. Like I'm depleted. I'm defeated. When he picks up that lightsaber, I think it's a more of a reassurance that she is still out there, and that Vader still knows what she probably had to go through and what was going on. Because the last time Anakin knows of Ahsoka is that he's sending her off to Mandalore to try to get Maul.
Yeah,
I think it's Anakin holding that lightsaber, not Darth Vader.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point because in the Anakin space of it, Padme is dead. Obi-Wan's just tried to kill him and left him for dead on Mustafar, so he's long gone. All the Jedi he killed are dead. The only person he really has any attachment to, and we're not counting like the Jar Jars of the world or the droids, it's Ahsoka. So I guess maybe he's clinging some sort of hope, like maybe she's alive somewhere and I'll find her down the line and I'll convince her that this was the right thing to do. But like, I read it more as like sort of like, and this is another one that I screwed over by not being able to take care of things the right way.
Yeah, I think he's sorry about it. Tells he screws her over, but I don't think he thinks she's dead.
Okay, well, that's one we'll put a pin. I think that's one. I think we'll have to. I think Rebels will have to see if that comes up at all.
And I'm doing, for those of who are not watching on YouTube, I'm sealing my lips.
Okay.
But how long ago? I just want you guys' opinion. How long do you think after the crash and the lightsaber drop do you think he shows up? Is that years? Is that weeks? What do you think?
I'd say months.
I agree with you. I think it's summer and then the winter when he goes there. So I don't know.
Can we possibly think of it as one day it's snowing, one day it's not? I mean, the way that I looked at it was very recently after. I think the way I interpret it is Darth Vader is going out with troops to make sure that everyone that was supposed to be killed off during Order 66 was. And when I saw the planet, I don't know if it was considered a moon or a planet or what. I didn't get a vibe of, oh, this isn't, like, let's say Hoth is an ice planet, but like, I didn't get a vibe of, oh, it's summertime and then now it's winter. I got a vibe of, okay, it's just the next couple days it snowed. Like, that's how I took it. I could be completely wrong. Could be months, years. I
agree with you, but I have one reason that it can't be, is that we just watched the whole show. They're clone troopers. He was not with clone troopers. He was with stormtroopers.
Yeah, so that's why I think it's time has passed.
So but I agree in terms of what you just said. It seems like it would be only a few weeks, but how quickly did they change from clone trooper to storm? I don't know.
Wait, let me put it to you this way. If I can remember this correctly, do we see clone troopers in snowy habitats ever in the episodes or the Clone Wars?
I'm not sure.
So maybe that's just what they look like when they go into those conditions. There is one episode where they're in those bad conditions. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of Bad Batch.
Well, they're considered, what he's with is considered stormtroopers, but when did that start? That's what we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know what the transition was. I don't know if clone troopers automatically got called stormtroopers when things switched over to the Empire, or if all the clones died out and then they got regular, infantry to be stormtroopers. I don't know.
I know in the story, Palpatine is racist, literally against races. Like, he only wants the human race, so clones don't count as humans. So like in the Empire, if you're a clone, you don't count. If you're any sort of alien, you don't count. You have to be a human.
Right.
Yeah.
So they are different. There's no clone troopers that become stormtroopers.
Yeah, I think that's interesting to track. I think it might be a little longer, but that's a question maybe Bad Batch will answer for us. Maybe not, but we'll see. But let's go ahead to our trackers now for the last time in Clone Wars. We are going to bid farewell to a couple of them along the way here. Padme Amidala gets captured 7 times in the series, an average of once per season. She appeared only once in the season, though, and it was over a hologram, so she did not have a chance to add to the count, Pete.
Yeah, I thought she was going to get captured again, but we don't see her, so we don't have a tracker for her this season, unfortunately.
Yeah, it does not get updated. It was the only thing that got updated in season 6, but nothing for season 7.
Yeah, rest in peace to Padme.
And the other tracker we are bidding a farewell to is Zero the Hutt tracker. 5 total appearances. He's died season 3, and I thought it was fitting since we are bidding farewell to these trackers. We give them a little musical accompaniment. As they slowly fade off the screen into blackness.
Padme, yes. For Zero, you better put like the Cantina music. Happy music.
And farewell to our trackers there. Now we go to the ones that are going to come with us on the ride to Rebels in a couple of months. So the tracker of the Darksaber, which we did not see this season, but I was surprised. I was expecting that one to pop up. The Darksaber still had 5 appearances. We have last saw it in season 5, episode 16, in the fight between Maul and Palpatine. Hondo has not appeared since season 5, but he has made 10 appearances on the show. He'll be coming with
Hondo is confirmed for Rebels.
So he'll be coming along for the ride with us. And Bo-Katan picks up 5 appearances in season 7. So she's up to 9 appearances on the tracker. So Bo-Katan coming along for the ride with us.
And what do you think? Do you think we'll see her again?
I think we might see her in Bad Batch.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see her in Rebels?
Yes.
So
that whole nugget's still sitting out there. I feel like Mandalore is too juicy for them to avoid.
Yep. And back to what I said earlier about Boba Fett, something else I realized. He wasn't even named in The Empire Strikes Back. He didn't even have a name. He was the bounty hunter. Yeah. That's how cool he was.
All right. Let's get to now our MVP, LV leaderboards heading into season 7. So right now, Anakin and Obi-Wan are tied at the top at +5. Ahsoka and Palpatine right behind at +4. Mr. Maul +3. Count Dooku +2. Yoda +2 as well. Rex, Cad Bane, Jar Jar, Mace Windu, Plo Koon, Bo-Katan, and Ventress are +1. We have 2 and basically leveled out Padme and Rush at Savage at 0. -1s, Rush Clovis, Mebar Gascon, Lux Bonetary, Nali Vali, Bail Organa, thank you, Pete, Master Peel, the Father, Tarkin, Luminara, all -1. The writers, -3. -4 is the Jedi Council, the droids as an entity, Investigator Douche, and bring up the rear, -5, 0, the Hutt. And he is right where he should be, Nick.
Yeah, but I'm very worried about the next 2 minutes.
All right, let's start at the MVP side of the board. Let's go around here. P, who is your first MVP?
my first MVP is Mr. Maul. Have to give him the first MVP. He reminds me, if anyone listening likes the Avengers and the Marvel MCU, he reminds me of Ultron. He's a very smart villain. He makes a lot of sense. He makes you want to relate to him and want to join him and say, yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. We probably should join together to defeat Sidious. But then, oh, wait, you're a bad guy. So yeah, I have to give it to Mr. Maul, especially for his hallway scene. So 1 point to him.
Nick, where are you going?
Also to Maul, he's awesome. I mentioned it earlier. They took a character that died, they brought back, and people were like, wait, Darth Maul's alive? Like, if you never watched the Clone Wars, which you guys hadn't before the show, you're like, they brought Darth Maul back? Like, what is that? Like, you think it's childish kind of thing, and they turned that childish move into an amazing, amazing character.
Yeah, I'm also going to make it 3 for 3 of Mr. Maul because, again, brilliant plan. If this plan works, he potentially saves the galaxy from Sidious. He might wreck it himself, but he does save that. He figures out Sidious's master plan with a lot less information than the Jedi Council has. He figures everything out. And he also, as you said, he uses the whole way in the Force to destroy an entire legion of clones. So major props to Maul.
Speaking of Maul, did you realize that in his little scene where he's meeting with other leaders, he was meeting with Crimson Dawn leaders? I thought that was very interesting considering Solo's 10 years away, and no more than 2 years ago in chronological time was he the leader of the Shadow Collective. So how did that change so quickly? I thought that was a little like they tried too hard to connect it to Solo when it still should have been the Shadow Collective at that time. Yeah, if you didn't notice, Dryden Voss was in the background there as a hologram. One who's the one who plays Vision, Paul Bettany.
Yeah,
the one he plays. He's there for a second when he's talking with the other leaders.
Yeah, maybe the comic book that the Maul story has. Maybe that explains some of that, but I didn't read that yet. So
I am sure it does, but I just feel like it's a little too soon for them to be switching names and hands and losing some of their alliances.
All right, P, who's your second MVP?
My second AVP. Whoa, oof, rough night. My second MVP is Ahsoka Tano. Like I said, just strong non-Jedi. Maturity levels off the chart. She, as Nick has said time and time again, she goes from this like teenage girl to this mature woman who is actually trying to restore some sort of peace in a war that's going on that she kind of got thrown into as a Padawan. So I have to give her that second MVP point.
I'm going to do the same for all she does the finale arc. Because she captures Maul, saves Rex from the inhibitor chip, has escaped R66. Plus, the underreported fact that the Martez sisters are dead if she is not there. They get themselves killed very easily. She saves their lives. So MVP for me. Nick, are you adding the Ahsoka train?
I am. And I mean, I would assume, based on what we've read and everything, Dave Filoni is in charge of this show, right?
Yes.
So incredible. He understands perfectly how to develop a character, and there's no argument that be made against it. Ahsoka, Pete just said it. She went from annoying, immature, looked like she was like 14 years old in the beginning, although it was only supposed to be 3 years. She looks like she's like 20 now. I don't know, but it's the definition of character development. Her and Maul too. Like, you have two characters that when they first get introduced or brought back, you're like, really? This person or that guy again? And now they're both fantastic Star Wars characters that I can't wait to see more of.
All right. Those two, I had a feeling we're going to be clean sweep. So let's have some fun with the last one. So, Pete, who's your final one of the MVPs?
I think this is going to be a sweep too.
Yeah. I don't know. My final MVP is Rex. I really like his character development, and I really like the emotion he brings to this last arc. I also think the fact that he, along with Ahsoka and along with, they kind of threw in a little bit of a droid arc, if you think about it, because the droids helped Ahsoka Tano a lot, but they did it in a way that's better than just having only droids. He single-handedly is just wrecking clones with Ahsoka's. Obviously, Ahsoka's doing most of the work because she's the force-wielding person. I don't know if that's how we're going to call a non-Jedi who is a Jedi. But yeah, I have to give it to Rex. The last one.
All right, Nick, where's your second one going? Or your last one?
Rex. Same reasons I said for Ahsoka and Maul. The same thing I've been saying since we started in season 1. Dave Filoni made us care about clones, and he developed characters that we didn't think we would ever care about.
Yeah,
we didn't care about the clones at all when we watched episode 2 and episode 3 as teenagers. We didn't care about the clones at all when we watched the movie. We didn't care when we watched season 1. We barely cared in season 2, and now here we are in season 7, and we care deeply for Rex.
All right, that's an interesting point. Like, I did not have him on my board, so he's not going to be a third clean sweep. So I had two options here. I'm trying to decide between, because one's getting the honorable mention, one's getting the point. And I think it depends if I want to give myself more work on the board by adding a new name to it or not. But I think I'm going to go with the new name here. I'm giving a point to the Bad Batch of the group. They had a very successful run in their 4 episodes. They came in as badasses. They rescue Echo. Without them, the Anaxis battle does not go the way of the Republic, and they just really kicked ass in the show. So I'll give them the Bad Batch the final MVP point of the Clone Wars.
It's fair.
No issues with that. They set them up really nice. I think they did just enough to make the spinoff show for them.
Yeah, the honorable mention was Bo-Katan for her role in orchestrating the Mandalore plan. But I think Ahsoka gets more of the credit, so that's why I did not give her the last one.
I like it.
Yeah, but yeah, I think I wanted to give something to Yoda too, but he's like an honorable mention for me, just because I feel like everything that's wrong with the Jedi Council, Yoda is better than them. As in that, like when Windu goes citizen or whatever he says to Ahsoka, Yoda stays after the meeting to show like he's a good guy kind of thing. You know, like I feel like no one has a problem with Yoda. He's an awesome dude.
All right, let's go to the LVPs, and I'm going to start this one off here. I'm giving the Martez sisters as a unit 1 LVP point because they, in terms of the non-droid division, they are right above zero for the worst characters this show has created. They're both morons. They deal with the Pikes. I mean, you have Rafa has no idea what she's getting into with this group. Trace dumps the spices in the middle of hyperspace because that's the solution to the problem. In other words, they get rid of the cargo and not deal with it. They nearly get themselves killed 5 times over, and they're just annoying the entire arc. So Bartez sisters first LVP. Pete, who's your first?
I'll agree with you. I think more Trace than Rafa. I think Rafa kind of knows what she's getting herself into, and she just plays it off as like, "Oh, we'll be fine."
Does she though?
I think she does know that she was going to trade spice with a crime syndicate, right? I mean, I think that was clear. I think the problems came in when Trace decided to be, immature and it's like, I'm just going to dump the spice. Like, I think Trace, it's a combination for sure, but I think Rafa knows what she's doing and Trace is just kind of getting pulled along for the ride. So, but I do agree. I think the LVP goes to both of them.
Nick, you want to jump on that one too?
Yep, I agree. They suck. That's it.
They do suck. Now let's go to the second round of LVPs. Nick, since you didn't have much to add to this one, why don't you lead us off here?
Okay, I'm very scared to do this because the Jedi Council, which puts them in last place. They showed time and time again they can't be trusted. They've shown time and time again they're going against their own code. They've shown time and time again that they're not keepers of the peace. They are soldiers, even though it's not what they say, and they just go against their own code. And it pains me to do that because the fact that we're going to have someone ranked lower than 0 the HUD is scary.
All right. I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to spin off of that a little bit. I'm going to basically echo what Pete said before. I'm giving the LVP to directly to Mace Windu because I feel like his attitude is so arrogant with Ahsoka that this is exactly why she is not giving them the information they need to save the galaxy, because Ahsoka captures Maul for them as a private citizen. She did not have to do it. She could have just said, you know what, screw you guys, live my own life. She does. She comes in, she grabs the Sith Lord for you. You don't trust her with your plan. He's arrogant. It's definitely the reason she decides, you know what, like they're going to screw Anakin. I'm going to tell him myself. And that delay costs them everything. So Mace Windu gets the LVP.
Mike, can you change me to say the same thing? Because everything I said for the council also applies to Windu. It just makes more sense.
Yeah, Pete, what about you? What is your second LVP?
Yeah, clean sweep for Windu. Think about this. Ahsoka Tano is a Padawan that did not complete her training. And she brings in a Sith Lord. And not any Sith Lord. One that was supposed to be dead and came back and is probably the most intricate villain of Star Wars to come out of this franchise, in my opinion. I don't know why you don't tell her what's going on. I don't know why you don't trust her. I don't know why you have to treat her in that way. So I will give that LVP to Mace Windu for sure.
All right, so that's our second one, and he goes from +1 to -2. I think is well deserved. He should be in the neck after that.
Oh yeah.
All right, last LVP. Who's your final one?
So this might be a little bit weird, and you're going to have to add a name to the board, and I apologize. I'm going to go with Saxon.
Who is Saxon?
He is the Gar Saxon is the Maul-looking Boba Fett. He is the Mandalorian who is
leader of that crew.
He looks like such a badass and does nothing. Nothing. Like, yes, okay. I understand he's not like Savage Opress. Okay. I know he's not going to be anything like that. But Bo-Katan does so much more than the dude that literally looks like a Mandalorian Maul. Like, how do you make a dude look so cool and
he sucks?
2 episodes of really nothing extravagant? He just looks like a clone trooper in Mandalorian armor. That's to me what he looked like. So I have to give him an LVP because it was just very underwhelming for such a cool looking character.
All right, Nick, who's your last LVP?
So this is very tough for me. I don't have a very good answer here because
I have one I could give you if you're struggling for one.
All right, you know what? I have a few in my head. If it matches one of them, I will go with it. If not, I will say someone else.
I had in my honorable mention board Wat Tambor from I forget which I think it's a techno union has it, where he basically is the one who's keeping Echo prisoner.
He's the guy with the weird thing on his chest in episode 2, and he just like goes out of frequency.
Yes, because he that guy, and like they capture Echo gets stolen from them, and then they say to him, "Should we tell the separatists this?" He's like, "Nah, we'll tell them later." he basically covers his own ass, and the general trench is acting on information that they think that Echo is still giving them. So his decision not to tell them cost that whole battle. So that's why I would have Wat Tambor in the honorable mentions.
I think I'm going to break a tie here towards the top of the list. And I'm going to give an LVP to Anakin Skywalker because of what he's about to do and all those lives that he's about to take. And nothing he did in particularly wrong in the season, but we all know what he does. We've all seen it. Little children, hands, every separatist leader, which I guess was a good thing, killing all them. But I got to give it to him just because of the tragedy and how it went through and how his feelings led him to the dark side. I know Obi-Wan did something similar where like the opposite, how like I think it was Ahsoka asked him to come with him and I wanted to knock him for that. I was thinking giving it to Obi-Wan because Ahsoka asked him and he was like, no, we have our thing to the council. And it's like Obi-Wan sticking to the book so much, like he should be able to see that the council's gone wrong like Qui-Gon Jinn did, and he doesn't see it, and he's so by the book that even when he's doing things that's wrong, he does it anyway.
You know for sure if Satine was still alive, he'd be there though.
Yeah.
He would.
And I was thinking of knocking him for that, but I can't let genocide go unharmed.
Yeah, that's certainly fair. I have the last LVP of the board here, and I think I'm gonna go a direction now that you're gonna love, because the worst arc of the season was that arc with the Martez sisters, and we know why the Martez sisters' life sucks. It's because Zero the Hutt escaped from prison, and he gets them killed. So for making us suffer that arc, Zero the Hutt gets an LVP point from me to finish the series at -6.
Scared. I was really scared that we were all going to say the Jedi Council and they were going to go to -7, and I was going to have to give 3 to Zero the Hutt, so I hate to lose.
Yeah, so Zero the Hutt is the ultimate loser, -6 on the LVP board.
Well deserved, honestly.
Yeah, even off screen, he screwed us.
Yep.
And to calculate the final MVP of the season of the Clone Wars, it was Ahsoka, and at +6 on top of the board. Actually, +7. She was on top of the board.
Yeah, 7.
And then it's Obi-Wan and Mr. Maul are second, +5 each.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yes, Ahsoka and Maul, the two best characters of the season of the tier.
Before we move on, I need to change something in my ranking because something is just glaring to me right now. What I said about Obi-Wan and Anakin, I want to flip that answer. Obi-Wan gets it for not Anakin, putting Anakin tied with Maul up there, not Obi-Wan, because of his lack of vision in the Jedi Council and how his blind trust. I really have to knock him for that.
Indeed. And that's the end of the MVP LVP board. We are going to wipe the whole thing clean for Rebels. So it's going to be a brand new board for Rebels. I will show you the final board when we go into Rebels, an example podcast here. But one last piece of business, we're going to rank our season rankings podcast. So as of right now, we have season 5 on top of the board, then season 6, then season 4, then season 2 and 3 are tied. We have to break that tie today. And last season 1 followed by the movie. So first up, where are you putting season 7? Nick,
I'm putting it. I'm putting it on the top.
You're putting number 1.
I'm putting it number 1. I thought the last 4 episodes were better than half of the movies in Star Wars.
Pete, where you want to put it?
Yeah, exactly what Nick just said. I mean, without those 4 episodes, it may rank lower than season 5, but that those last 4, like I said, that's episode 3.5. That has to bring it up to the top.
Yeah, I'll go with you guys. I put it right at the top of the list. So that's got to be there because season 5, I thought about putting it higher. Then again, it has that 8-episode run of younglings and droids that just drags it down to below them. So
it's like everything season 5 worked so hard to achieve. It all paid off here. We got to see it in front of our eyes.
Yes, it did. And we had to break the season 2-3 tie. So if you had to give me a gut, Pete, which one are you putting first of those 2?
You know, I'll be honest with you. I can't even remember most of it, but I would have to put 3 ahead of 2 only from a budget standpoint, right? They're getting more money. The action is a little bit better. The graphics are a little bit better. That's going to be the tiebreaker for me, not the content.
Nick, do you have any different thoughts?
No, I agree. I agree with Pete. We talked about it earlier. As this show went on, as it aged, it just got better. And I mean, there are some seasons that were worse than others. Sure, like we all agreed that 6 wasn't as good as 5, but it was still pretty good. But the animation, the sound, everything just got better from as season went on. And 3 and 2 are pretty equal story wise. Then I have to give it to the production.
Yeah, let's put it there. We'll put 3 above 2. So basically, we go like each season gets better, except for 5 is better than 6. That's the only difference we have.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, that's our Clone Wars coverage wrapped up. Coming up next, we're going to take a break before we do Rebels because, again, we just finished 130 episodes. Not ready to do another like 60 or 70 of Rebels yet. So we're going to later on, I think late July, early August, we're going to dive into the movie rankings of Star Wars, the live action movie rankings. We are not going to include the Clone Wars movie because it would be a very obvious 12 of 12. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree, but I also think that a lot of people are going to answer you that I never saw it. More than half the people that you ask out for are not going to say. Probably 90% of the people you ask are saying I've never seen it.
Yeah, we'll acknowledge that like it's worse than anything is out there. So I don't think it's worth having that discussion.
Right.
And we cover it to death, Pete.
Yeah.
And we don't need to relive the Zero the Hutt experience. So that's going to be officially like number 12. We're going to go for 1 through 11. So the other movies, I'm going to try and watch as many of them back as I can the month between these records. So I think it's going to be a fun experiment to see how the people rank it.
I think, Mike, I know some of your opinions already. I don't think I know for sure how you rank things, but I think I have a general idea. And I think you're going to see, you're going to appreciate, especially episode 2 and 3, but also 1 a lot more now that you've seen the Clone Wars.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna watch. Like I have to at least watch 1 to 6 again because I haven't seen 1 to 3 in probably at least 5 years.
So my question for you is: when we're done with Rebels, are we going to be doing Star Wars Resistance?
From what I've heard, that's terrible.
I've seen 3 episodes. Put it that way. If I've only seen 3 episodes, how does that tell you it is?
Well, I mean, I don't think they're very eager to dive back into that era of Star Wars, but they're now back into only the OG trilogy era is good stuff mentality.
Yeah, it was a really rough show. I don't recommend watching even a minute of it.
Yeah, so right now the plan is this. Then we're gonna do Rebels a season a month, and then we'll hopefully be right up on Book of Boba Fett.
Which, yeah, look at that. Guy just had armor in 1980, and now he has his own show.
Now he does, and we will get into all of that soon. I want to thank you guys for coming on. Pete, how can we follow social media? I'll keep out some of the stuff you're up to.
Yeah, Twitter at PJ Consadori 29. Just retweeted our Holy Moly special that we had not too long ago. So definitely check that out. Stanley Cup Finals, Tampa Bay is up 2-0. So definitely check out those retweets.
By the time this episode comes to your ears, the cup final might be over.
Yeah, if there's a sweep. Yeah.
Yeah, and holy moly, I mean, we have not watched this episode tonight, but apparently they're debuting 3 new holes tonight, Pete.
Yes, I saw something with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So I try not to spoil it. Like, even though I watch them on Instagram, I try, if I see Holy Moly come up, I try to like scroll through it quickly because I don't want to spoil the episode. But I did see a glimpse of dinosaurs. So that should be interesting. Yeah,
Nick, I know you're not giving out your handle just yet, but do you watch Holy Moly?
No, I actually was going to ask you. I don't even know what it is.
Oh,
it's so fun.
So
is on Disney? I'm assuming it's on Disney Plus.
ABC.
No, so it's on Hulu.
Okay, I have Hulu.
There are only 3 episodes in, so you could definitely watch it. They also have season 2 still on Hulu. Season 1's not there. I guess they didn't have the contract for it, only for like the live episodes. Have you ever watched the show Wipeout?
No.
Okay, so Wipeout was a show of contestants that had to go through an obstacle course where they could fall into water, get hit by foam objects, and it was just a funny kind of obstacle course show that was adapted to, I believe, I could be getting the country wrong, but I think it was a Japanese game show. Could be wrong on the country, but it was some sort of Asian game show that they adapted to the US called Wipeout. Well, they've taken those obstacles and they've put it on mini golf courses, and they've made extreme mini golf. And Joe Tessitore and Rob Riggle are the play and color commentators.
I know Rob. I don't know if I know just Joe.
He used to play football.
Yeah, he used
to. All right, maybe I know his voice.
Yeah, and they do extreme mini golf. and it's hysterical.
It sounds fun. So what you said, ABC?
ABC is on Thursday nights at 9:00. The new episodes. Hulu has all the old ones, and it's no fun.
Have the Fridays. They have the.
So dumb question. If it's ABC, why would it not be on Disney Plus?
Because it's their existing contract with Hulu.
Don't they own Hulu too?
Yeah, they put it on there because I don't think
Okay.
because they keep some stuff on Hulu. Like that's one that goes
Right.
there.
I feel like Disney Plus doesn't have the shows that are still running.
Yes.
If that makes sense. Like Good Doctor is ABC, it's still running, so all those episodes go to Hulu.
Yeah, unless it's an original.
I think The Rookie is ABC as well. It's still running, so it's on Hulu. Same thing with Holy Moly. So
Is The Rookie that police show?
Yes.
correct.
Yep.
And I also have you ever seen Curb Your Enthusiasm, Nick? Are you a big Curb guy?
Oh, you know the answer to that. Come on, Mike.
Yeah. So like
I am the biggest Curb fan in the world.
Yeah, so Steph Curry is also part of the show. He basically plays the Curb Your Enthusiasm version of Steph Curry, where he's trying to take extreme mini golf and make it a professional sport. So that's a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, I'll definitely try it out if I can find a way to get the first season. I will
You
definitely
don't
watch.
even need the first season. Like
Don't need it.
season 2 is fun. It's
Well,
all
there's no. I would assume there's no like story. I can just watch any episode. No.
You could
watch
season 3 and understand it. It's just knowing the progression of how the show has been going. That's when you need season 1, season 2.
You don't need one. Trust me on that.
Say season 2, the finale is really funny.
Yes.
And you'll understand if you do watch it through, you'll understand why it's funny. Because it's like, how funny can extreme mini golf be? If you can give it a shot, watch the first episode of season 2, see how it is. I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, because season 1 is basically they're figuring things out. Season 2, they changed the format now. So the way that works is every episode, somebody wins, and they go to the finale of the season, and then all the winners of the season come back and compete for a chance to win $250,000.
That sounds cool.
All right, man. So check that out. Thanks again, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. We finally did it.